We have had a mystery on our hands this week. The scholars in this room are the crew of the mighty ship, the Envisioneer. While in search of an ancient treasure, we were marooned on an island, and a big part of the map went missing. All of the crew we considered 4 suspects. Today, you will hear the evidence against Dr. Smart and Shipwright Neff.
We're going to be talking about the lungs and how they work.
First, you breathe in through your nose and mouth, which then all the air you sucked in goes down your trachea into the lungs, which then reaches the bronchi, which then branches out throughout the lungs, reaching the alveoli, which then supplies all your blood with oxygen and exchange carbon dioxide, which then you blow out.
Here's a model lung. In order to be able to breathe, you need a muscle called the diaphragm. This balloon represents the lungs. This plastic part on the bottom represents the diaphragm. When the diaphragm goes down, it gives more room for the lung to inflate, and then when it goes up, the lung will deflate, and it will do that process for your whole life.
So, in the crime scene, there was a shipwreck, and multiple people were hurt, and some had broken parts. So if you have a broken part, or a broken arm, you would try to shape the splint as best as you can on the unbroken arm. That way you will be hurting it when you're shaping it on the broken arm. So once you got it shaped, take it off and put it on the broken arm. Once you have it on, grab the ACE wrap and tie or wrap it on tightly, but not too tight to where you're cutting off the circulation. Then you're going to grab the sling and you're going to place it under. That way you can hold the broken arm and it won't move as much. And you'll tie it behind the person's head. And tie it tightly, that way it won't come off. And there.
If you have a broken ankle or foot, this is what you would do. You would have the patient sit down, and you would take the brace and shape it over, and you cross the sides and do like an over-under thing. And make sure it's tight but not too tight. And then you take the ACE wrap and wrap it around the foot to where it keeps the brace on. And this is what it would look like when it's done.
Do you know what an MBOT is?
No? Well, an MBOT is a robot that you can program to dance, avoid obstacles, and also put it on a light show.
By coding using an E-device, we use this by helping the captain of the Envisioneers.
Not real story.
By finding and helping the missing crewmates.
We had to code and build our robots, but that's not all.
We also had to build transporters, straws, and paper clips for our MBOTs to go across.
Now you know what we did in engineering. Yay!
First mate Cindy Young got a snake bite on her left ankle. That's why we studied about snakes so we can treat her wound. If you want more information on snakes, here you go. We learn what to do and what not to do when you get bitten by a snake. Like keep the area we got bitten stiff as much as you can. And here are some side effects. The area where you got bitten will most likely be very swollen, and depending on the bite and the snake, you might feel dizzy.
Whenever you get bitten, it has different effects on different parts of the body, such as the brain and the heart. So make sure you call 911 and don't move because it can make your blood go faster. And make sure you don't drink anything with too much alcohol or sugar. And Sydney Young was bitten by a hemotoxic snake, which affects the blood, so that means Neff actually took Sydney Young.
Navigating the cardiovascular system, blood comes throughout the body, enters the heart through the vena cava, and is pumped into the right atrium. Blood is pumped into the right ventricle. From the right ventricle, blood is pumped into the lungs through the pulmonary artery. While in the lungs, the blood receives oxygen and discards carbon dioxide, which turns it bright red, then is pumped through the pulmonary vein. The heart pumps blood into the left atrium. From the left atrium, blood is pumped into the right ventricle. The left ventricle pumps the oxygen-rich blood through the aorta and back out to the entire body. So when something stops, the system stops, and that's what happened to the guy on the ship. Also, we got dissected cow hearts, and we learned the system of a heart.
Cardiovascular diseases. Heart attacks. A heart attack is when your heart stops beating properly because it isn't getting enough blood. This often happens when an artery has a blockage due to a buildup of fat and cholesterol called plaque. Plaque can break off and form a clot, which restricts blood flow. Both of these limit the blood from reaching your heart. When the heart doesn't receive blood, it is damaged.
Captain Thomas of the Envisioneer was sailing in search of an ancient treasure.
She then crashed on an island and found a blood drop.
She didn't know who the blood belonged to.
We had to figure out from what height the blood fell.
We dropped fake blood from 3 different heights.
We then measured how wide the blood drops were and calculated the average from many takes.
The averages for 12 inches, 1.23 centimeters, 30 inches, 1.45 centimeters, 66 inches, 1.6 inches.
Those results told us from what height the blood fell.
The height was 30 inches.
That means the blood must have come from the waist or hand.
Out of 4 suspects, one of them had a cut hand.
That suspect was Dr. Smart, the ship's physician.
We learned that we could use different types of chemicals to find different types of powdery substances.
We also learned how to analyze fingerprints.
Here's how we did it. We used different chemicals to find powdery substances. One of the chemicals are vinegar.
Another chemical is iodine.
Then you can look at how the chemicals change the powdery substances.
There was a mystery powder found at the scene. To determine the mystery powder, we had to test it against known powders. Cornstarch, cream of tartar, baking soda, and powdered sugar. The mystery powder was cornstarch. The cornstarch was important because Dr. Smart used it for sun cream.
Dr. Smart's fingerprint was on the overturned cup that was at the crime scene.
And something cool is that you can find out who a person is by their fingerprints.
Dr. Smart and Robert Neff, you have been found guilty. Guards, take them away.